Hello, welcome back to Knowledge. We are here now, and it's finally getting closer and closer to the start of the college football season. We're all really excited for it here. And this year, it's going to be a real interesting one. There's going to be some major differences, things we're really not used to with conference realignment and just the continuing evolution of college football. And that is really as evident as anywhere else in the Big 12, which is lost, obviously, Texas, Oklahoma, their two biggest teams here, and added a bunch of new teams here. We got Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, and along with the other teams added in previous years. This is going to be a really interesting conference, and I'm very curious how it's going to be, even though they've kind of they're a step below the Big Ten, the SEC now, in the conference hierarchy, and it's really, they're not on the same level at all. But I think it still could be a really interesting conference, honestly, because it's going to be one of the more even conferences. I think there's really you could pick so many of these teams to win or contend for the conference, and I would totally go with that.
Because they're all bad teams.
I mean, yeah, there's no just dominant. There's really not even
it's kind of like
there's no clear cut favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's going to be really interesting. Well, hey, they're doing better than the Pac-12, right? Right. So it's going to be a really interesting time. So we're here today to pick the over-unders of every team in the Big 12 and just kind of what we expect to see from them this season, how we expect them to look, who we expect to contend and win the conference. So let's just start with who I think could very well be the Big 12's best shot at the playoff, and that's Utah. So Utah's record, a little bit of disappointment last year, 8-5. They kind of had resembled Iowa football a little bit on offense, which is never a good thing, and that's what really hurt them a lot. But hopefully, with Cam Rising in his 20th year here at Utah, they're going to be better. Hopefully, coming back. And so Utah's win total, these are according to FanDuel, is set at 9.5 right now. And so I'm going to go with my take. I think Utah's hitting the over here. I think 10-2 I could see right out there. Maybe even if they have a really special year, 11-1, but I wouldn't say so probably. I would guess right at 10-2 is the best of this team. But I think that is enough to win the Big 12 for them. Their schedule is not horrible, really. I mean, none of these schedules in the Big 12 are that bad.
Because they're all bad.
Yeah, so
they've got a pretty good schedule.
But even then, among the Big 12, it's not horrible, I don't think. So they return, decent amount of stars, especially on defense. And it's going to be interesting to see where things shake up. I think it's going to be one of the rare exceptions when a team like them and maybe Oregon and Texas are some of the few teams that will just join this new conference and immediately be ready to contend for the title.
Bro, Texas is ready to compete for the title.
All right, sorry. I thought you were going to say win. Contend. Sure.
They're ready to win.
So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens, but as of right now, I would pick Utah to win the Big 12. How about you, James? What do you have for Utah?
No. I'm taking the under on that, man. I like Utah, and I love Kyle Winter, but it's just they've got a very reasonable schedule, but 9.5 is a high total for them. They have to get 10 wins. I mean, they still went 8-5 last year. They lost to Northwestern in their bowl game.
Bro, that wasn't like the whole team.
They started after defense. But Cam Rising, who knows how good he's even gonna be. This dude's glass bones and paper skin. I mean, he was day to day for the entire half of the season last year. So I don't even know what's going on with him. He's gonna be back, but will he even be good? No one really knows. So that and obviously other question marks from their offense. I think they're gonna drop probably 3 games, 9-3, so under.
Yeah, me personally, I also have an under just because, I don't think they have just enough elite talent to, beat the rest of the teams. I just think it's pretty even playing field, so I just don't think they have enough talent.
One thing I would call into question is we talked about their schedule. They went 8-5 on that schedule, but last year, let's look at who they played. They played Washington, right? Oregon, USC, Oregon State. I mean, and those were all very good teams in the Pac-12 last year. I don't think there's a single team remotely on the level of Oregon and Washington on their schedule this year.
Well, like I said, they lost to Northwestern, and I'm not trying to
diss Northwestern. Their whole team, bro.
Northwestern's pretty. They had a good year.
Northwestern's elite.
They're more on par with some of these Big 12 teams, where Utah isn't in another league. They're beatable by some of these teams.
And we're thinking. So you think 9-3 is looks likely for Utah? Do you think that's enough to win the Big 12 or at least make the title game?
Title game? Yeah, it's probably. I think that could be likely. I mean,
So yeah, they'll be
they're
contenders.
really contending with like Oklahoma State, maybe Arizona, but we'll see.
All right, yeah, we'll see. Let's move on to who I think could be another possible contender with Kansas State, of course. Last year, pretty decent, 9-4, and their win total this year set at a pretty high 9.5, I think, for them. But I'm going to go with the over two. I think Utah and K-State could be the two teams we see in the Big 12 title, actually, at maybe 10-2 again for them. Again, you look at their schedule. I mean, you got Tulane at the non-conference, which is, with Willie Fritz gone, probably shouldn't be a big concern. And really pretty favorable, with the exception of a few games, Iowa State, maybe Oklahoma State. I could see them dropping. But outside of that, again, I think they could definitely attain that 10 wins and compete for the title. How about you, Charlie? Who you got for K-State?
I have the over. This is personally my Big 12. Like, they were my champion. I think they get the 4th seed in the playoffs, and I think they get the right to get destroyed by the 5 seed. They will get spanked by like Texas or Oregon or something.
If Texas comes to be like, oh yeah, the Big 12, that's funny. Let's just destroy your champion. Immediately.
Whoa. I mean, I wouldn't.
I mean, they
Oh,
lose.
you never know. You never know.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't yes, I can see that
It's
happening.
just an
Not
interesting
really.
hypothetical.
Texas couldn't even compete in the Big 12 for many years, so I wouldn't say that it's like that
No,
for
I
Texas.
get it.
But
I mean, they lose Will Howard, but like, I personally think he's kind of an Uber Eats driver.
that's my.
I think that's
concern.
actually a upgrade.
That's what I'm wondering is how their offense is going to look this year. I mean, because I personally, I'm going to take the under on them again. Because the big loss is obviously Will Howard, but then they also lose their offensive coordinator, Colin Klein. So there's going to be some changes there. And, I mean, there's going to be a good team. I probably have about the same thing as them as Utah, where probably 9-3 is likely maybe 8-4, who knows. I mean, you can't really overlook some of these games. Like, I think Kansas on their schedule at Iowa State. They lost Iowa State last year. Tulane could be a toss-up. They'll probably win, though. But I just don't really see them getting 10 wins, honestly. So I would actually take the under.
Bro, the tough games for the Big 12 are like Iowa State and Kansas. You do not want to miss Kansas on the road.
They got at Colorado, West Virginia. I mean, who knows?
We'll see. Moving on to, again, possibly another contender, Oklahoma State. Kind of a weird year for them last year, winning.
Bro, they're so goofy.
Yeah, that was wild. They won 10 games somehow. And this year, Mike Gundy, I mean, he's been there forever now. We kind of know what to expect from him. And in my opinion, they're over-under set at kind of shockingly low, 7.5. I mean, look, I'll be honest. I don't know if Oklahoma State will get 10 wins again this year, but, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very few times in the last, 5 to 10 years has Mike Gundy gotten 7 or less wins.
Yeah.
He's been pretty consistent in that 8 to 10 win range, I would say. And I'm just gonna trust him and go with this again here. I got the over, James. How about you?
I mean, this is an easy over for me. I'm not super high on Oklahoma State because it's a Gundy team. They'll probably lose to one of these terrible teams on their schedule, and they'll probably beat one of the best teams on their schedule. That's what they did last year. But only needing to get to 8 wins, I think this is an easy over.
Absolutely.
I mean, making a clean sweep, I'm also going over.
Yeah.
I mean, unless
It's
they
just too easy.
I know, unless they
This is
just
the
fall,
easiest
unless
one.
they just fall off the rails. Like, I just think 7.5 too low.
Yeah. All right, let's just move right on to Iowa State here. Kind of a weird year for them last year with a lot of gambling issues off field, and they still actually managed to kind of surprise people and pull out somehow a 7-win season. And so that's right about where their over-under is set this year, right at 7.5. This is an interesting team. I really could see this going either way, to be honest. I think they'll end up right around that 7 to 8 win range. I'm going under just at 7 wins, just kind of out of spite. But I really could see it going either way. How about you, Sean?
I can see it going one way. I think they go about 5-7. I'm not even here. Like, they're playing Uber Eats drivers on our team, but
they have Uber Eats drivers.
they got DoorDash drivers.
Okay.
They have Postmates drivers on their team.
I mean, this one was a hard pick for me. I'm kind of more similar to Owen, where I'm not really sure they could really go either way here. I mean, they showed some potential last year. They also had some bad games last year, like Ohio, But with this schedule, I think they could probably hit exactly 8 wins. I'm going to take an over, very barely, but I think they'll probably lose at Kansas, Iowa, Utah, and maybe Kansas State. So they'll probably hit 8-4.
And who knows? Maybe they still compete for a Big 12 title. I mean, that's certainly possible.
I mean, you need
with
about
the Big
6
12.
wins to compete.
And I think that's
I don't know.
might
Dad.
be attainable. For
They
them.
lost to Ohio.
I don't know if they'll make it, but I think they could be in the competition. Certainly.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
they
I
lost to
also think
Ohio.
about these 4 teams we named could be about.
They're
the top
not one of the
pack.
Big 12 teams to overlook on the schedules because they can beat some of these better teams, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't see them doing any better than 8-4.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to another interesting one. We have Arizona Wildcats here with really amazing season last year, 10-3, but unfortunately which culminated in their coach and a lot of their players leaving for Washington. And yet, in spite of all that, their team still has an over-under of 8.5, which seems kind of high to me. Maybe that's just because of the Big 12 schedule. I think they could be decent, but I don't think they'll be 9 wins decent. I've got the under here. James, how about you?
Arizona was my sleeper team. I have them winning the Big 12.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of
Oh,
a hot
I know,
take.
right?
But so I'm gonna take over. I think they can definitely hit 9 wins. I think there's a chance they do even better than that. Like I said, make the playoff. Obviously, the biggest loss is their coach. I don't know how Brennan will be, but I do think they still have a lot of good pieces on that offense, and they'll be able to compete with these better Big 12 teams. And I think they'll definitely hit that over.
Yeah, it's hard to predict the Big 12 as a whole, like we said, just because so many of these teams are unknowns. I could see Arizona getting anywhere in between like 4 and 9 wins.
It's just
Like,
it's such a level conference.
it's just weird. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a good thing. It'll be even playing field.
Well,
Each
I don't
game
think
will be
they're gonna drop
interesting.
to 4 wins, but
Well, you never know. I mean, what will happen? What do you think,
Hey,
Charlie?
so the way I broke it down, I think they got a bit of luck last year,
they
and
did, but
so
Yeah.
they lost their running back. I don't remember his name, but I think the problem is that their offense is going to be. They still have an elite passing game, but I think they'll be a bit too one-dimensional, and I just don't think they'll get quite as lucky as they did last year. So I have no.
They were,
I have like
they
seven.
were
I
able
have
to,
7 and
they
5.
were able to push back against like Oklahoma and stuff. So I think that can get them 10 wins. You know, they can lose. They've got 2 tough games at Utah and at Kansas State. But say they drop those 2, the rest of their schedule is very manageable. So
Yeah,
I
see,
think 7-5.
you mentioned it's kind of, it's not the same situation, but we'll get into this when we talk about the SEC win totals with Mizzou. I'm not sold on them being great. I'm not sold on it just not being a one-off year, you know? And this is even more so because their coach is
it's
gone.
a similar.
So I'm really not convinced on them at all, which is why I've got the under. But let's move on to just another interesting one here, West Virginia, who kind of, I feel like these were one of the most
Bro,
just
ain't
like
nobody talked
forgotten
about West
teams.
Virginia.
No one talked about them. They won 9 games last year, and just
Nobody talked about West Virginia,
I
bro.
just wouldn't have even known that, honestly. Like, if you had just had me guess, I'd be like, I don't know, 5 wins, 6 wins, but no. I mean, it's crazy. They just quietly got a really great season, and again, with the Big 12 schedule, who knows? So they've got over under 6.5, and I got the over here. I mean, I'd say maybe right around 7-8 wins again if they can kind of replicate their success of last season, build upon that. They got actually a pretty good amount of returning starters here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. And I can really just keep repeating the same thing. We don't really know with these Big 12 schedules what teams are going to look like. If this will be just easy schedule, they'll demolish the rest of the competition, or if they'll just suck. I mean, hey, who knows? Who you got, James?
This was a really hard pick, you know.
Yeah.
9-4 last year was insane. They're a team that really like fell backwards into all half of those wins. You know, it's like the saying, you know, like despite their best effort, they won a lot of those games.
Snatched victory.
I mean, Neil Brown's probably one of the only coaches on a hot seat that just went 9-4. You know, but at only 6.5.
6.5 is low enough. Yeah, it's pretty.
I need enough to take the over still. I mean, like I said, a lot of one-score games last year where they could easily be the same team and they could have gone like 6-6 or worse last year. So that's why the total's so low. That could be this year. But
Exactly.
I mean, I think they've got enough returning on offense, and I mean, I think I'm taking over.
If this was 7 or 8.5, I would probably go the under there.
It'd be-
But it's 6 is easy enough where I'm gonna trust them in this.
I just like the over. I like what they're returning. I like their schedule. And you'll tune into week 1 picks to see if they upset Penn State.
Yeah, that would
See
be,
some of
that would be
our
interesting.
upset picks.
That would be a
If they upset
big
Penn State,
statement.
bro.
That would be, gosh, that'd be.
Well, they
crazy.
probably run the backyard brawl. this year again.
Bro, that's because Pitt's like not even D1. They're barely D1.
Pitt is not look good. So.
They're gonna be in like
Hey,
the
who knows
ASC.
what happens?
Like 5 years from now, they'll be in like the ASC playing like East Carolina.
Yeah, the ACC better prepare themselves for
ACC, bro.
once Clemson and FSU jump ship. All the Boston colleges, Syracuse's,
Wake
Pitts,
Forest.
Pitts, Wake Forests of the world will they won't be looking too great. But let's move on to a national title contender of a few years ago who have kind of fallen on hard times after last season.
Hard times.
That's the TCU
They
Horned
lost to
Frogs.
Colorado.
Yeah, so TCU had a very disappointing, honestly, 5-7 rebound from their national title appearance. And yet, if you ask me, honestly, I would take like going to a national title if it meant going 5-7 the next year. I'd
Even
take
it
it
was
every
about
time.
60. Only got 3.
Hey, that
Yeah.
Michigan game would have been magical for those fans too, though.
Yeah.
Still 7.5 in the new Big 12. I think. Will they contend for a national title? No, I don't think so. I think they can get to 8 wins, though. I think that's manageable enough for them. Charlie, what about me? You agree?
When I was making this win total, I thought this was like a joke. I thought there was like a typo. I said TCU 7.5, and then I rubbed my eyes and I saw it was real. So I'm not sure who said that. This is my number one smash. This is my number one smash that undertake
Wow, okay.
as an easy under.
You think?
I
Why's
mean,
that?
they got 5 wins last
So-
year, and they don't get anyone better.
I have to take under here as well, but I'm not quite as much as Charlie. I like TCU. I like their team for next year. They got a lot of people coming back.
I
on
don't like
defense.
their team.
But their schedule is not great for them. I mean, in order to hit that over, they'd have to have, 8 wins? So they would have to beat, I mean, I see them losing to Arizona, Oklahoma State, Kansas, and Utah at least. And then they also have some tougher non-cons with like SMU and Stanford, which are more
Bro, we
than
went to Stanford. So
Well, it's not hard.
Two ACC
You know,
teams.
But I'm just saying, like,
ACC teams.
it's not the best schedule. So I'm taking under.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. Let's move on to maybe the last, I'd say, kind of possible contender on this list here with the Kansas Jayhawks. Over under right at 8.5 wins. I've got just once again the over here. Just I'd have them probably getting just same amount of wins they got last year. They went 9-4. I'd say they could probably go 9-3 in the regular season here, something like that. And again, probably be one of those competitors for the Big 12 title. I really like what Lance Leopold has kind of built here at Kansas. I mean, Kansas is kind of the punchline of college football for so many years. And now they've really actually been very respectable under him, despite having that kind of weird looking mascot. But
Bro, we like the mascot. The mascot's great.
But we'll see what happens. How about you, James? What do you think of Kansas
I
this
mean,
year?
I hate to agree, but I got a pretty similar take to you here. I see them going
Including the mascot. too.
9-3. Not the mascot. Don't disrespect the Jayhawk, man.
Do not disrespect the
Uh,
Jayhawks.
But I say 9-3 again. I really like Jalen Daniels, and he obviously shined in games like Oklahoma last year, proving they can win those big games. Their schedule is reasonable, where they'll probably have about the same repeat year as last year, I think.
So unlike these bozos, I could give a big explanation, say like the players they're returning, say my reasoning, but I'm under just because it's Kansas. It's not basketball. They don't even have a home stadium.
So they haven't escaped the reputation.
That is true.
It's
I forgot about
Kansas.
their stadium, but it's not like they're
It's
missing
not
out on a
basketball.
real rowdy home environment. So.
Yeah,
It's
I don't think
rowdy,
it's a
bro.
Big thing.
Sure.
All right, let's talk about a weird one here. I think with the UCF Knights, their over under win total is 8.5.
Bro,
Like,
what's
going
going
on?
So
man? What is
if
up with
Charlie's take with TCU, that's my take for UCF.
Smash the
I don't
over.
know who said it at 8.5. They went 6 and
Absolutely.
7 last year, didn't they? So I don't see any shining potential here that's gonna put them higher than that. They play Florida, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So like
Florida
they've got
beats
some
better
hard
beat them,
run.
man.
Bro, Florida doesn't beat UCF, bro. It's over.
No,
Yeah.
this is an easy under for me.
No, this and maybe Oklahoma State are some of the easiest picks tonight here. Where and really looking back last year, Gus Malzahn's kind of just weird coaching games sometimes where even to get to 6 wins was kind
Just
of
none of the
normal
new
for
Big
them.
12 teams really showed that they could compete with.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at like TCU last year; they were one of the worst teams in the Big 12, and yet they like blew out the new Big 12 teams because it's just a different level.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
eventually they'll catch up, but right now,
or maybe the rest of the
Only
Big
the
12 just
second
kind of
year-
fall down to their
and
level.
only the
at this
second
point.
year, and only
you
the
know?
second year teams like UCF,
Like-
they're still going to struggle to compete here.
Absolutely. What about you, Charlie?
It's 8.5. And then looking back at this, I don't know why. I must have been having too many of my dad's Heinekens that he gives me. I put over on this. I don't know why. It's so stupid, but I don't know. I guess I put over.
Yeah, so you're going. So defend it. Defend your pick.
I can't defend it.
You have to.
I mean,
You have to.
Hey, they did win a natty.
well,
You know,
they're the only team in the Big 12 that's won a title this century. So that's my
absolutely.
reasoning.
Yeah. All right. Any thing beyond that? Just they're good.
I mean, Gus
UCF really just strikes as a 9 to 10 win team this year.
Gus Malzahn's he's done good. And,
So you think they'll beat Florida then, buddy? Since you're
no, they won't beat Florida,
Florida.
but I don't know. I don't know why I put over on that.
9 wins
Yeah, I
for
don't know
UCF?
either, to be
Yeah.
honest.
9 wins.
But you heard it here, Charlie. 9 to 10 wins for UCF this year.
Bro, imagine we shocked the world.
Yeah.
Me and my Knights,
Second national title.
second national title.
All right, let's go now to Texas Tech Red Raiders. Again, honestly, pretty surprising for me. 8.5. Again, same as UCF, kind of the same story. They went 7-6 last year. I don't see them doing any better this year, really. So I got that easy under again.
I honestly, I thought about taking the over, but it's a lot higher. Once again, 8.5 is just too high for them. I don't see anything that's striking that would get them there. I mean, they're gonna have a good offense, but like Texas Tech. When's the last time Texas Tech had a 9-win season?
1990 never.
Yeah, they're not a proven team, so I don't see the potential that would put them there. So this is an under for sure here.
Yeah.
I mean, look at their offense. They have some alright personnel. I mean,
They got a lot of people.
I don't really think they don't have a QB. I guess I'll go under. I mean, it's Texas Tech. Most people don't even know they exist.
Yeah, again, a lot of kind of just forgettable teams in the Big 12, to be honest. Not to
Because
insult any other
it's
teams,
poverty. It's
but
a
just to
poverty
speak kind of
conference.
the truth in the general, kind of national, spotlight as a whole. People just aren't really talking about Texas Tech that much. Maybe that works to their advantage. I don't know. But we'll see. Again, another team that really doesn't have that high expectations, I would say. Baylor, who has kind of fallen on hard times after being great for a while. Dave Aranda last season took them to a 3-9 record.
Bro, what happened?
Yeah, that was just a train wreck of a season. So they do return a lot. 10 offensive stars, 9 defensive stars. I don't
They're not
think.
good starters.
Yeah. Again, that doesn't mean everything. So their win totals is at 5.5, and I don't see those returning stars enough to get them 3 more wins. I have an under here. How about you, Chip?
I've been over. I still think Dave Aranda's a good coach. I think they get back to the last couple of years. Last year was a train wreck, but they do have a much easier schedule now in the new poverty conference. So I think they get back to bowl
Well,
6-6.
I can kind of agree with Shook some there. I think they'll be better, but they still have to hit 6 wins. And Arnanda, very hot seat right now. They've had some. I mean, what they need in the transfer portal, they've had some big whiffs there, and they haven't been able to acquire that talent. And I think I'm going to take under here for Baylor. I don't think they're going to get back to where they were until they hire a new coach.
Yeah. And I want to make clear here, too, we hate on the Big 12 some, but we really like the Big 12, but just from an objective standpoint, they really are set to fall below the rest of the Big 10 SEC, and that's part of just the changing landscape of college football, and it's a shame that it's happening like that, and hopefully we get proven wrong. But really at this point, it's not looking like any of these teams are going to be elite, maybe national title contenders.
So I don't like any of them are going to be good.
Yeah. Is anyone confidently picking any of these teams to win the national title?
Is anyone picking any of them to win a game in the playoffs?
I don't know. We'll see. Speaking of teams that have been in the playoffs before, let's move on to the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Oh boy.
Again, who have fallen on hard times.
So the only Big 12 team that's been in the playoffs. That's kind of sad.
Well, I guess current Big 12 team, yeah.
Yeah.
So a record of 3-9 last year. Yikes. They got an over/under win total of 5.5. I've again just got the under. Again, one of those situations where we've talked about is going to take them time to adjust to the Big 12, and it's going to take them a little more time than 1 year. They're not going to get to 6 wins, I don't think. Maybe they can improve. I could see maybe 5-7, something like that. But I mean, look, all these other teams, I don't think they'll be able to stand as much of a chance against. Even the Big 12, I see most of the teams they play, Iowa State, Kansas State, TCU, just having an edge over them.
Yeah.
How about you, James?
I had the under. I'm gonna take the over here.
Oh wow.
I agree completely with what I was saying earlier, where they can't really compete yet. But I think this is a pretty reasonable schedule. I mean,
Bro, they're all reasonable. It's the Big 12.
Towson, Pittsburgh, Miami, Ohio. They could probably beat Houston and UCF and Arizona State and maybe some other. So I think they could hit 6 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 wins. I think is definitely their ceiling. So I'm gonna take a risky over, but.
My prediction is that I think they'll kind of be like a sponge, like soaking up all wins for our team. So like they'll go like 2-10. So like whenever your team needs a win, it's like we're gonna play Cincinnati. Yeah, it improves all the Big 12 records.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, now let's move on here to again another newcomer, semi-newcomer to the Big 12 with the BYU Cougars. Last season, again, kind of disappointing, 5-7. Over under this year. This, in contrast to these other teams, I think is a lot more favorable. They don't have a random like 8.5 win total like UCF.
Bro, we let UCF
Texas Tech. So I've got the
you
over
put
here.
over on UCF.
I think they
bro.
can get to 5 wins again. Certainly. I mean, they return a fair amount of starters, and I just, again, the schedule's not awful. I mean, for the Big 12 again, kind of an unknown, but yeah, I think they can get to 5 wins. What do you think, Joe?
I think they go 4-8 because all the players are like Mormons or like really old. I think they go.
Good.
That was kind of random. No, just looking at they have Gary Bahanda as their QB. From what I've seen him, this is about his 7th year. He's kind of like an Uber Eats driver. So I have 4-8.
All right. How about you, Jim?
I mean, I've got a similar take to you on. I don't think they're gonna be that great, but I think they could get 5 wins again and repeat. Schedule's not horrible. They had a few good games last year, and they had some really bad games too. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to Arizona State with an over/under win total of 4.5 here. Last season again, kind of displaying 3-9, and I've got the under hitting here. And look at this. So there's gonna have to be one team. There's gonna have to be someone that just
That's
isn't.
Cincinnati.
There's gonna have to be at Cincinnati, but there's gotta be multiple someones who are just bottom feeders for the conference. You know,
They're all
they can't all win every game. So I think it's gonna be Arizona State. I've got them. Yeah, I could see 3-9 again, something like that. 4-8.
I agree completely. I think ASU will be the punching bag of the Big 12, like Charles was saying with Cincinnati. I don't see them getting many wins here with this schedule. I mean, they have not shown much promise at all. They don't even have a lot of players coming back. They're not going to be good.
I think Arizona State this year, they start the rebuild and they go over, they make a bowl. Because I really think they really should be the dominant team.
You're not going to take 5 wins, you're going to make
Okay.
a bowl.
No, they get 6 wins. So I really think they should be the dominant team in Arizona. In a couple years from now, it'll be back to them being good in Arizona and Arizona being bad.
Yeah, well, they're both kind of.
It really should be Arizona State being top Arizona.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll see this year. Now let's go on to kind of an interesting team, the Houston Cougars, with new head coach Willie Fritz at Tulane, kind of making a strange lateral coaching move, I would say, really.
Yeah.
It's like a little step.
Kind of a weird decision by him. I felt like he could have done better than that, honestly.
I mean, that's what I
He was
thought.
respected enough. I think he could do much better than Houston, of all places. But I like Willie Fritz. I like what he did at Tulane a lot. And I think they could, with an over-under win total of 4.5, I've got an over here. I think they could maybe build. I don't know if they'll make a bowl, like say 5-6 wins, something like that. I think they can start kind of get that ball rolling, building that positive momentum to get Houston ready to really compete in the Big 12. What about you?
Yeah, man, I hate to agree with you on a lot of these takes, but I do like Willie Fritz. I think Houston showed some talent and some potential in games like Texas last year. It was a good game. They probably should have won without that bad call. I don't know if they would, but it's still very close. And I'm saying, can they get 5 wins in the Big 12 with this schedule? I think they can. So I'll take it over here.
I think they can. The way I'm just looking at it is that all the AFC teams that joined, they had some success in the conference form. Houston, they weren't even that good in the AFC, so I don't think they're going to be good in the Big 12. And they actually have a pretty underrated tough schedule. I mean, they have Oklahoma in the non-conference, which is the toughest Big 12 non-conference.
That's true.
So I think they get 4 and
They only
8.
need 5 wins.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, let's move on to last and least. No,
Nah, bro.
I'm kidding.
Bro.
Last, but very
Bro.
much not.
Come on,
least.
man.
The Colorado Buffaloes.
We not lose.
Head coach of Coach Prime. The biggest kind of brand I'd say currently in the Big 12, just with the amount of publicity, like weird amount of people who love to watch them and kind of cold
Dude,
follow
they're fun to
Dion.
watch, bro.
Colorado has a 5.5 win total. I'm saying no way do they get
Hater.
No
hater.
way.
They don't believe it.
I do not believe
They don't believe
You're
it.
right. I do not believe it at all. I think this team just doesn't have the depth, frankly, just doesn't have the discipline at all to be able to win 6 games this year. I think you'll just see a lot of repeats of what you had last year where just we see a lot of sloppy, undisciplined teams that just blows leads and gets outclassed. And hey, I also would like to be proven wrong. I don't necessarily
You're a
hate.
hater.
I don't hate Dion, but I'm looking at just the facts of this program, the amount of talent, kind of one lack of depth they have, and over reliance, I'd say maybe on just transfers and not really having a culture of their own. And I just don't see it happening. What do you think?
Well, I like Dion, unlike you, but I don't love
It's
Dion, unlike you. So
That's
I'm still gonna
Good
take
point.
over here. I think they have Shadur Sanders too. You know, he's still a great quarterback. They have Travis Hunter still. They've got good talent on their team. And they've shown that they had some good games last year where they probably could have had a better record. You know, they almost beat USC. They should have beat Stanford. So can they get to a bowl? I think they probably can. It's just all, you know, I think the defense will still be pretty bad. The big question mark is the O-line. A lot of new transfers.
Oh no, just listen to EA. They're gonna have a top 25 defense
Yeah, come
in the
on, man,
country.
be real.
They're gonna be the top 16 team in the country, I hear, according to EA.
I'll take it hesitant over on Colorado though.
So, I got this really cool Travis Hunter jersey off eBay. So, obviously, I'm going to take it over.
Mr. Pac-12 over there.
Couple reasons. One, they rebuilt the O-line. They got some dudes.
Okay, but
Number one, up.
that's what they said last year too when he.
Well,
basically
he didn't
overhauled
have the
whole
O-line
line
this year,
team,
but
so-
he actually put folks in.
Just saying.
So what do you want
the
about midway
transfers
through the
might not
season
be
because
good.
All right.
Alright.
Let me finish my reasons. Easy schedule. And they have top end talent that no other Big 12 team has. There is no other Travis Hunter. There is no other Shore Sanders in the Big 12. That's true. They have the top end talent the Big 12 no other team has. So I think they'll compete for title. I don't know if they'll win title. They'll be in the race for the Big 12 title.
They're not competing for title. They're competing for bowl.
That's
why their line is at 5.
A bowl
They
would
They
be
will
a
compete for a
success
Big
for
12
them, I
title.
think.
Yeah, that's
I
they will
do
compete
think
for a
that,
Big 12
genuinely.
title. That's not that much stretch.
I think it's going to be interesting that first big test to see whether this team actually has changed at all is going to be that North Dakota State game right at the beginning of the year.
Bro, they're gonna be North Dakota State.
If they lose, hey, I mean, I don't know.
The big test is Nebraska. Who
If they
can get,
lose
who can
to
get more
North State,
overhyped?
Nebraska
The
will be
overhyped
interesting.
battle.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, they're going to be probably one of the more interesting teams at the least to follow in the Big 12. We'll see whether they actually achieve their success or they crash and burn. I don't know. But like the rest of the Big 12, it's kind of an unknown this year, and I think it's going to be exciting to see how it all plays out. So that'll do it for this episode. We'll be back soon to cover the rest of the main conferences, and we'll see you all then. All right.